Hey, happy Friday. Happy rumor and innuendo. It's Dominic D'Angelo. It's Robert Karplus. More importantly, it's Dean Martin's birthday. Happy birthday, Dean Martin, my favorite entertainer of all time. We talk about sports entertainment. Dean Martin's a pure entertainer. So happy birthday, Dean Martin.
Well, ain't that a kick in the head?
Hey, yes. Boom.
Dean Martin. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I got him tattooed on my arm. I got his autograph right there.
What made you a Dean Martin guy?
Well, my dad was a big Dean Martin fan. He grew up in Steubenville, Ohio, right across from where we kind of grew up.
I can't hear Steubenville and not think of That Thing You Do.
Oh, really?
Yes. Sorry, it's that. Well, that's my that's where I'm at. So all right. So passed down through the generations.
Passed through the generations of my all-time favorites. So
makes sense. I was more of a Frank guy, but I'll take. I don't mind Dean.
Dean's great. He was the laid back one. He always drank apple juice on stage. He never drank. He never got drunk.
He was a worker, man.
He was a worker. It
was a gimmick. Mm-hmm. It was great because I've heard interviews with people that have talked about working with Dean.
Yeah.
And he would say that part of the reason he would stick with the drunk shtick was if people thought he was drunk, they expected lesser of him. So you could get away with, if you forget your line, you forget the words. I'm just a little had a little too much here, a little too much of the sauce. And as a Jerry Lewis guy, like I was always like, you wanted to see them. Like that was a big reunited moment.
It was
like it's like when Brett and Shawn hugged on Raw.
That's it. Yeah, it's great. What an analogy, man. Pro wrestling's everywhere.
Pro wrestling is life. And the thing is it works in your real life. And I think this is, if there's one lesson I can teach you kids, this turned into How I Met Your Mother, and I'm fine with that.
That's okay.
Kids, I'm going to tell you how wrestling can help your life. I'm wearing my kayfabe shirt. I have 3 of these suckers that from Pro Wrestling Tees over the years, which I love the design of it. But kayfabe is so versatile that if you use that in your regular work world, it will improve your life dramatically. I have worked in a number of companies, not in wrestling, and I have taught them to use the word kayfabe. It is a great way to be like, hey, keep this shut, or someone's coming, stop talking.
Yeah.
And as a lawyer, it's great to be able to say kayfabe. And one of my favorite things of working at the WWE was they would use the Carney terms in office. So it would, like, you would just hear someone go, hey, gimmick the door.
That's like, so great.
What? Or, like, if someone screwed, like, oh, it's a heel turn from so-and-so. They and departments you wouldn't even expect. You get it from like accounting or travel. Wrestling's the best. It's the best. I realize the cleaning ladies here. And if the vacuum is, if you hear that, I'm going to go kayfabe the door because I hear the vacuum cleaner, and I don't need her to hear another Blue Chew ad because I don't want her to think I'm propositioning.
That's it. You don't want
Give
that.
Me a moment. Stand by, guys.
Okay.
Oh, that's another one. Stand by.
Stand by. We got some good stuff to cover, though, today. Let's get down to it. We got SmackDown to preview. I want to touch upon a Tony Khan tweet. It kind of makes sense when you read past the context of it all, but I want to get Robert's thoughts on that. And we're going to talk a little bit of free agency today. But let's start it off with SmackDown.
Oh, hold on. Before we even start to that, I realized because we're like 5 minutes in, we haven't said hi to. There's a ton of folks watching us live here today. So first is Thigh Slaps and Steroids. Hell of a name.
I love
it. Says the best tag team out there. Dom-ish. Happy Friday, gents. Antonio said, happy Friday, gents. Happy birthday to Dean Martin. Let's grab the bull by the horns.
Yes.
Dre Owens. Happy birthday, Dean. Papa Blue Chew. Do we get Mariah versus Tony at All In? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been saying this, and we talked about it on Working Stiff. I would not be offended if they did a a Tony Saraya match.
Oh yeah, totally. Wow.
People have said Saraya and Mercedes, which to me makes even less sense, just because it's the UK. Give them Saraya and Tony, guys. Tony Storm is supposed to be a heel.
Is she? We don't know now.
You know who's a heel, and I don't even know if this is on the run sheet. It wasn't on the run sheet, but
go for it.
we got to talk Tony Khan's tweets.
Oh, I know it wasn't on the run sheet, but I have it. Look, we're gonna get a little futuristic here. I'm gonna do a share screen and actually show the tweet. How about that? Boom. Let's
I feel like
do
I'm
it.
on a work presentation. I don't
Look
like
at
this. I never like. I have only seen one. So if there's more than one, I've missed the rest of the Tony Khan freak out. So
he,
I'm a little
he says,
excited.
I book wrestling.
You're not sharing anything on the screen.
Oh,
if
I'm
you're,
not?
yeah, no. I feel like I really am at a work meeting. All I need is someone to say you're on mute.
Why the heck is this? Is
Oh, there we go. Whoa,
there it is. Can I zoom into that? Hold on.
This is the world's worst TED Talk.
There we go.
I book wrestling for the sickos because that's what I am, and that's who I care about.
Now you'll notice I highlighted that last. Oh no, you won't notice it. It's not on there. I highlighted that last part because I was like, "Is that a quote from something? Is he bringing something to it?" And sure enough, you see Colt Cabana actually tweeted below him that Dan Aykroyd from Tommy Boy. Yeah, that's a quote from Tommy Boy, which I was not made aware of. So it makes he's just having a little fun with it. But I guess there's a sickos meme. Is that what also I hear? I don't know what's going on.
So no idea what he's talking about there. Tommy Boy, always going to be near and dear to my heart. In addition to being a great movie, but as a wrestling story, and I've told this tale elsewhere. Vince, while I was there in 2005, had just seen Tommy Boy.
That makes sense.
So we had pitched something that wound up making it on air. It was the Batista Eddie Guerrero storyline where Eddie was pretending to be Dave's friend, and Dave was in on the joke and then pretending that he was pretending. And you saw echoes of that in the Adam Cole MJF storyline that turned into the Brochachos, which led to the Devil story. So indirectly, it's my fault the Devil story happened. Oh
my!
By the transitive property of wrestling, but we had pitched like that they were going to be in the ring, and Eddie was going to be like, "Hey, brother, shake my hand." And I was like, and I'm like, "Oh, Dave's got to say, brothers don't shake hands, brothers got to hug," and they did it on air. So you always have to be careful if you pitch something just to pop yourself in the moment, and then it makes it on TV. And I think so another fun thing. Every episode of Raw and SmackDown gets a name.
Oh,
on the run sheet, it's internal only, but we put a name for whatever the episode is going to be. So it has Raw number 572 or whatever. But for that SmackDown, it was Brothers Don't Shake Hands.
That's awesome.
Was the name of that episode. So it's all internal, but it's fun. That's why you guys come here.
Well, Benjamin.
We gotta say hi to someone here. Oh, the same person.
W for TK, the Tommy Boy reference.
So Benjamin Guilfoyle also wrote this. Good evening from Busan, South Korea. I stayed up late to hear Blue Chew ad reads live and hear a SmackDown preview. Thanks for watching us there in South Korea. To all of our friends watching us in North Korea, do not identify yourselves because they will find you.
Ben, what time is it over there in South Korea? Message us in the chat there.
I want to say it's about a 12-hour difference. I know in India, where I am, it's about a 13.5-hour difference because I have conversations with folks over in India professionally. And I don't know if Korea is the same as China and Japan. This is what you guys tune in for.
Yes.
It's a 1 a.m.
1 a.m.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning. There's no better way to spend your time, morning, noon, or night, than watching Rumor and Innuendo. And talking SmackDown preview, Dom.
Yes.
And what's the hat?
Oh, funny you should mention it. It's a Kurt Angle hat, broken freaking neck.
Okay.
Look at that. Kurt Angle show. It was a birthday gift from fellow One True Sporter, Paul Bromwell. I got it. So,
Paul Bromwell, the Scott Hudson of podcasting.
I got to tell him that.
I used to call him the Scott Hudson of ad-free shows, but now he's in a different one. I've never spoken to Paul, but I've listened to him a lot on when he was doing the Arn podcast.
Yeah.
It's a very soothing voice, and apparently he's deceptively incredibly tall.
He's very tall. Mm-hmm.
He's very tall, and he has a voice that sounds like, guys, have you found sharpening your knives is a challenge? Have we got a product for you?
QVC Bromwell. I love it.
I can't stand when you listen to podcasts and people just shill nonsense. And speaking of shilling nonsense. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew.
Yeah.
Guys, let's talk about sex. Remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Visit BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. I got to be honest, I was at Walgreens earlier today on an unrelated matter to a Blue Chew pickup. The line at that pharmacy was about 11 deep. And based on the age of some of those people, they might not have lived to make it to the front counter. But you don't want to wait when it's time to be in the bedroom, because Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this preview of the Blue brand of the WWE.
Thank you, Blue Chew. Thank you. Hey, let's preview that Blue brand. Tonight on tap, Robert, we got... Oh, am I still sharing my screen?
No, you're not.
Okay.
You have it open on the bottom, but you're not sharing it. I see you. I see your hat that has like this very like Mall of America logo font to it.
Very scripty.
It's very like the Golden Girls kind of vibe to it. Which shout out to a friend of the show, Justin Roberts, who's a huge Golden Girls mark.
I know RJ City does not like Betty White.
What?
Yeah, RJ City is not a fan of Betty White.
Why is this a thing that you know, and why does he not like Betty White?
I don't know. I think she overstays her welcome. Well, she did. Now she's gone.
She didn't anymore.
Yeah.
She bowed out gracefully eventually.
Right before 100, turning 100. How about that?
I used to hate RJ City.
What?
Yeah.
What? RJ's the best.
He's grown on me.
He's the one who introduced me to the Henry Winkler movie, The One and Only, and that's how I got the interview with Henry Winkler, the Fonz.
I'm so jealous you got to interview Fonzie.
Yeah, it was great.
The real Fonzie, not the Fonzie you do another show. No, save that for the end. Save that for the end. You want to whore your other stuff, you can do that on your own.
You got to wait till the end.
You got to wait till the end. We still have to talk about SmackDown, which is our lead story. 14 guys, this is Friday. It's a loser day. This is fun.
Yeah,
this is what you come here for occasionally. But SmackDown's got a lot of stuff lined up for this show.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that the lineup was pretty stacked. They advertised a good amount here. So Cody Rhodes set to appear live. We have Jade Cargill taking on Indy Hartwell in a singles competition. Apollo Crews versus Angel Garza. He's just going by Angel, I guess now. And Johnny Gargano will be taking on Grayson Waller. Plus, Solo Sikoa to anoint Tongaloa into the bloodline. So, Robert, what really stands out? What would you hammer home here as we're getting ready to go to Clash at the Castle? What would be your big highlight here for tonight?
So, what I love the most about the three matches that are announced, Gargano, Waller, Cruz, Angel, and Cargill Hartwell, is they were all set up by actions that occurred last week on SmackDown. You're following up on stories. You're following up from what happened in Saudi with Candice LeRae supposedly being injured by Jade and Bianca. So now Indy wanting some sort of revenge gives an excuse to do a one-on-one match. You're obviously doing Gargano versus Grayson Waller for two reasons. Number one, you're furthering their tag team match. I think they're the number one contenders, DIY. I don't know if they're doing it at Clash at the Castle or not, but it's also an opportunity for Waller to show what he can do in a one-on-one match with Johnny Gargano, who is remarkably talented and can get the most out of you in the ring. So it's a good chance for Waller to show, while he's very good on the mic and he's good in these tag matches, that he can stand on his own 2 feet in a singles match and really over-deliver. So I think that's really, really fun. And Apollo was put into a situation last week where he loses to Andrade. He didn't get an entrance. You're like, all right, we're clearly just using this guy as cannon fodder. And then they gave him a story.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen a lot with Angel and Humberto, whose contracts are coming up. And it's a chance for Apollo Crews to really spotlight himself a little bit. It's a chance for Angel to spotlight himself a little bit. And that's how you build stars going forward, where you don't think that you're necessarily going to get this this opportunity to advance your status, and then you're getting the chance. And I think if Apollo continues to show that he can deliver in the ring, he's a good promo, he's someone the audience connects with, why not make him somebody you're using on your broadcast? It's a shame this could have been a Cameron Grimes role, and Grimes not being there, but Crews is going to make the most of his moment and hopefully doesn't take on a very problematic accent.
Yes, we don't want that. I will say, too, how much understated I think the talent of Angel Garza is. I mean, I got to interview him two WrestleManias ago, him and Humberto, and they have a personality and some charisma. He's got a great look. It's just like if his contract's running out and WWE's not going to do anything with them, I think there's some value to building him up, especially, and getting him more in a prominent role, as whether it's a heel or a babyface. I think he can fit that nature. So
we used Garza in MLW. He's very, very talented. My frustration with Garza, and I'm going to tell this story because we're amongst friends here.
Yes.
We were looking for Garza for a pre-tape, and we used to operate out of the Clarion Hotel in Orlando, Florida. And it was the middle of the day. Couldn't find Garza anywhere. Where is this guy? Where's this guy? We need him. He was in his room.
Mm-hmm.
He was not alone.
Oh.
Yeah. I believe he picked the gal up in the lobby.
Oh.
So good for you, Mr. Garza. Salute, but we were late for that pre-tape.
Hey, live the gimmick, you know?
That wasn't his gimmick. Doesn't screw girls that you meet in the lobby. That's a great gimmick.
That is a great gimmick.
That's a fine get. Carlito lived that gimmick for the last 20 years. Oh man. As my phone's going off with these, I love these fake like texts. Like the fake, the ones that are clearly spam, but they make it seem like hello, friend. We haven't spoken in a while. Because the key, kids, in telco world, if you respond, it negates the spam allegation.
Oh.
So if you write back, this isn't who you think it is, it registers as a real text. So if this number is spamming hundreds of people with different things, they write, and what they'll do sometimes now is they'll include a name. Mm-hmm. It'll be like, hi, Susan. It must have belonged to a woman named Susan. I feel bad. I'm going to reply. And now you've validated that number.
Oh, no. You don't want that.
This is, again, what you guys are tuning in for. Dean Martin birthday information and robocall spam text rules. But enough. No one wants to hear about that. No one hears about my real life where I'm a lawyer. What are we going to talk about now?
Yes.
What non-legal related matter are we going to discuss?
Well, let's dive into some of the free agency.
That's literally 100% of what I do. So thank you.
Yes, on the forefront here. Wrestling Observer had kind of an update, I guess. Not really, on Natalia's status.
By the way, that's every Wrestling Observer update. It's kind of an update, but not really.
They say there's nothing new on that front of Natalya. This is close to expiring. She may let the clock run out and field.
Just to clarify, Natalia's contract is close to expiring. Natalya is not close to expiring.
A-okay, everybody. She's A-okay. But she may let the clock run out and field offers from other parties.
As she should.
Yeah. Why not get that leverage? If you were her, what would you do?
I would have a conversation with Tony Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation would go as follows. My contract is up. I can work with any talent. I can work with young talent and elevate them. You've seen what I've done with Tegan Knox. You see how they're using me now in NXT. My uncle has a tournament that you have named after. And he is, someone I hold near and dear. If you put me in the Owen Hart tournament, I have a tremendous story to tell that I'm trying to win this for my family name and lineage. And you could put me in a match at All In against Tony Storm, whom I have previous experience with, and we will have a hell of a match. That's the conversation I'd be having if I was Natalya right now. The other conversation is calling up TNA and saying, let me in, and I will instantly be able to contribute to your women's division, which is sneakily a very good women's division.
Is.
So I think those would be two very smart options. I don't think Natalya is ready to hang it up and be a coach full time. When she's ready to do so, I think her and TJ is incredible as an agent, as a producer. I think Natty could do that job in a heartbeat, but I don't think she's done. It's kind of the Dolph Ziggler thing. They offered Dolph the chance to be a backstage producer. I think he'd be a great producer, but he still thinks he can go in the ring, and he still can go in the ring. And until you are at that stage in life, Chris Jericho, where you know that you shouldn't be doing this anymore, Chris Jericho, then you keep going out there, Chris Jericho, and doing your thing, Chris Jericho. Who else is up for free agency outside of Natalya? There's a lot of names.
Yeah, there is. Another prominent name, Chad Gable. And there's a little bit more news information when it comes to that from the Observer. They say, both WWE and AEW are very interested in locking him into a new multi-year deal. Also heard stuff, I think, about TNA as well. But Chad Gable, he's obviously elevated his value on WWE's product as a personality. He's prominently in one of their major storylines, I would say, too, at this juncture. If you're Gable, do you field some interesting offers from AEW, and do you actually consider them?
No. How's that for an answer?
That's pretty good.
So Gable's in an interesting position because obviously he owns his name because it is his name.
Yes.
What makes him so uniquely talented is he is a Kurt Angle-esque in-ring performer who can do it all. Obviously has the amateur background. He can do the amazing moonsaults. He can do the suplexes. He's got this tremendous power. He also does the comedy so brilliantly. He can be the goofy guy. He can be the hard ass drill sergeant that you want to see get beat up. He can be the full on wacky goofball. He can be deadly serious. And there's a lot of people for him to still work with in WWE where I think that it will elevate him right off the bat if he were to win the Intercontinental title. Mm-hmm. If this were to happen, imagine a feud with him in the LWO. Gable as a heel going up against Rey Mysterio. Gable as a heel going up against Dragon Lee, where they're actively competing for that. Those would be really exciting. Gable and Ricochet, Gable and Dragunov. Yeah. There's a lot of possibilities for him there. In AEW, they have shown time and time again when they get somebody completely gift wrapped and ready to go, they never properly pull the trigger. They have not. No one has gone to AEW from WWE in the last 2-3 years and been significantly elevated from their prior position to a genuinely meaningful role.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, like, the only incentive to going to AEW is how much you would get paid, I think. But other than that, where are they going to put you on there? You are going to get lost in the shuffle. I think that's they don't have a track record of doing that with anybody of their talents, like Cesaro. Oh,
I do want to clarify because I when I was speaking, I knew what I meant in my own brain, and it didn't because Gable and I is a buddy of mine. But Christopher Reed correctly said that Charles Betts is Gable's name. When I meant he owns his name, I meant he owns his persona. He is a legitimate Olympian. He's a legitimate athlete. You're not really tweaking a lot of who he is, so he can go in day one and tell the story of Charles Betts.
Yes. Because I was always curious. I was like, did he get Gable from Dan Gable?
It's the Dan Gable Association.
Yeah,
I love when they just come up with names for guys.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, like, let me ask you this too, Robert. When it comes to Gable, do you see a much higher ceiling for Gable in WWE as like future champion, top of the card kind of thing, or where kind of would you see him at? Has he kind of reached his ceiling there? Or do you think there's more for him in WWE?
I think he's definitely an upper mid card performer for them for right now. Mm-hmm. Could they find a way to elevate him to the main event? Sure, why not? In AEW, they've proven that being world champion does not mean you've been elevated to the main event.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of the damning factor that we're seeing with Swerve right now, that they are not treating him like he is the A1 of the company. He's just the guy who's holding their belt. And I liken it back to when Jericho won the Undisputed title, and he was like the number 7 or number 8 guy in the company.
Yeah.
Even while being champion. I distinctly remember, I think it was the last Raw of the year when he was champion, and he wasn't on the show. It was a pre-tape of him like on a lounge chair at the beach with the titles next to him. And it just struck me as like, how is he not the guy?
Yeah.
Punk's first title reign, he was very much not the guy.
Kevin Owens'
title reign, Miz's title reign.
Yeah.
So I think if Gable were to go to AEW, he would get lost in the shuffle, not because he's not talented enough, but because they just don't know how to move those pieces up and down properly. So I would like to see him stick around. The guy who I hate to say this, but because I'm a big fan of this guy, friends with this guy, I think the world of this guy. I know Ricochet's contract is coming up. He's someone who, if he were to go to AEW, they would put the world title on him.
Yeah. He's just not good on the mic, is the thing.
He's not great on the mic, but in AEW that doesn't matter.
It doesn't, but it should, right?
It should and it shouldn't. I think that there's a conversational nature that certain people have that the audience is used to accepting and understanding that. So if you can put him in there with Ospreay, you put him in there with, which we've done before with Swerve, you put him in there with Bryan Danielson, you're going to get to Ray Phoenix. That's what that sicko Tony Khan cares about. So if that's what you care about, if you just care about blockbuster 5-star, 6-star, 7-star matches, Ricochet is a machine who's going to churn that out. Where you saw Ricochet's real value was the way that he worked with Braun Breaker on Raw, and the way that they were able to tell a compelling story. You know who tells compelling stories?
Who?
Greg Gagne.
He does.
How can I hear more Greg Gagne compelling stories, Dom?
Well, let me tell you, Robert, we recorded a live episode of Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA Greg Gagne on FullHorsemanNetwork.com. Also,
isn't every episode recorded live by default?
I guess so, yeah, but we're live in front of a studio audience, Robert.
Aren't we live in front of a studio audience,
yes,
including some folks
like
in South Korea?
That is true. Yeah, it's a great point. So, but yes.
Let me just make your show feel less and less special by the minute, please.
But it was a great episode because we fielded a whole bunch of different fan questions. We cover MJF in great detail, actually, and what stands out about him as a personality and a talent. They were both.
I'm sure that's better than the conversation would have gone with.
Well, let me say this too: is Greg gets asked about Larry Zbyszko. He's got some stuff to say about Larry.
Larry.
Yeah. Oh, Larry.
Oh, I love Larry.
I do too. Greg doesn't. So you'll hear
okay. When I say I love, as a character on Larry was so entertaining on TV for all the wrong reasons. And when I got to work with him, it was such a treat. So this is a terrible story, and this is how I'm ending this week, and it's fine. You go catch the Greg and Magnum Straight Talk with the Boss.
Yes.
As well as RVDTV.com for Rob Van Dam and Bill Alfonso and not Straight Talk.
Right down the middle.
Right down the middle. A lot of directional things with you. But we brought him in because he had helped train Santana Garrett.
Uh-huh.
And we were using Santana Garrett in a match. And the idea was that Larry was gonna be like kind of like her mentor, like in the same way. I don't know if you're aware of this. Larry once wrestled Bruno Sammartino, and he was very humble, doesn't really talk about it a lot. But we're like, well, what if we talk about how, Bruno was your mentor, you can be Santana's mentor, and we want you sitting ringside for her match. So Larry's sitting there in this bright Hawaiian shirt, like something you would wear, and sunglasses indoors, and he's not moving. And this becomes a Weekend at Bernie's situation where we're genuine, like, is Larry dead? Did Larry die on, like, do we have to like poke it? Because he's not moving. He's just, with sunglasses on, and we're waiting for him to like flop over one way or the other. And you just see him in the entire match just not moving. And it's so unnerving because the shirt is so bright and he's seated so prominently. It's the absolute best.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Larry's great.
Larry's amazing. Like I had a fun conversation with Larry too. But yeah, so you've got those shows, you've got other shows that you do as well. But well, I know you got the hat. We're very proud of you with the hat. You've also got Working Stiff.
Yes.
Which is out now. Myself, Dan St. Germain, and Scott Chaplin were on this one. Mike Lawrence was traveling, so he was unable to join. But we talked the Mount Rushmore of Carnies, which was a really fun conversation, as well as a little bit of Dynamite, a little bit of Raw, a little bit of Dan yelling at his dogs. These are all the things you tune in for. And that's available wherever you get your podcasts, on iTunes, Spotify, and the like, which is the same place you can get the audio version of Rumor and Innuendo, which drops every afternoon. But if you want to be here live, no excuses anywhere in the world, whether you're in the United States, South Korea, we got folks listening to us in Europe. There's sometimes some folks in Africa. We are touching all the continents, penguins in Antarctica. Don't message me if they're not in Antarctica, whatever. You can catch us on the variety of platforms, including the WW Creative-ish X account, the Dominic D'Angelo X account, the SE Scoops X account, the Rumor and Innuendo X account, the Working Stiff X account, the Podcast Heat X account. Podcast Heat is who makes this show possible, as well as on YouTube on Rumor and Innuendo, ad-free shows, and Working Stiff. We're on ad-free shows today. Take that, Jarrett.
Yeah.
Take that, Jeff Jarrett. I want you guys to take to heart. We're coming up on an exciting weekend here. We ended last Friday with Dom kayfabing us, that not telling us about his birthday. So hopefully there's no dark secrets hiding in your weekend ahead. But on behalf of the very dark and mysterious Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
I ain't kayfabe